So what I'd like to do now is transition a bit to the question portion of this. So if you have questions, again, please submit them. We have a few that have come in so far, so we'll tackle those to get us started. So you mentioned earlier this idea of one HR. So this person's kind of asking around, what are some best practices that you've seen there to really kind of drive this integration, this kind of one face to the client, which can be challenging when we often end up very siloed and separated.
Yeah, I think that is difficult, and I have heard several companies talk about one HR. They want to be one face again out to the client or to the employee that's looking to us for help or for process or for service. I did mention a couple of the other things earlier, but jointly mapping out global processes is important. And so you might want to have folks from shared services, from COEs, an HRBP representative there so that all aspects are brought to that discussion. And as you're mapping out the process, then you can think about the handoffs and where there might be loose ends and how we can tighten those up. So that's one thing. I mentioned role clarity, I think is a big one when you're going through transformation and things are changing so much, and you may not be able to get 100% role clarity right away, but you should be working on that. And so the RACI tool is cumbersome, but a good one really to help get you there. The other is service level expectations. And so, for an employee who is, using your technology or a chat bot or, sending a question in through your service center, what's the expectation around how quickly they should expect a response, and educating your employees on those service level expectations, as well as the folks within HR that are delivering those things out. Having the COEs understand, how quickly do they need to get back to an HRBP when they're contacting them, for help on org design project or some analytical help or whatever that happens to be, and being clear about that so expectations are there. So service levels are important. Communication between the groups is key, and that's something newer that I think companies, I've seen some good practices of them building in opportunities for communication. So whether that's monthly calls with global HR leaders, so not only your HR business partners talking about the business and the strategy piece, but the COEs as part of those calls, and shared service or operations leaders as part of those calls. I've also seen some good practices where you're aligning representatives from the HRBP community with specific COEs, so that then they're sharing information and bringing it back to their teams, both ways, a two-way street there, and that I think really helps as well. And then establishing service catalogs. While that's cumbersome and maybe against some folks' culture as far as process, it is important to document what gets done and how it happens, and update those along the way.
Mm-hmm.